We've been talking about, well, first of all, it's Boris Johnson's 60th birthday party, and I suggested we should ambush him with a cake. We've been talking about the wonderful Nigel Farage and how his presence might have shifted this campaign, and we're talking about the sort of take on personalities, because it's been lacking before Nigel came into it. What's your take on it, Emma?
Well, I mean, it's interesting, isn't it, that you mentioned Boris and Nigel in the same breath, because I think actually they are both, but very different reasons. They are both consummate professionals. They're real politicians, and they have this, whether you call it charm, whether you call it sort of that they're electrifying, whether you call it just a kind of ability to connect with people. But we've all seen, both politicians, and they rouse a lot of hatred amongst people, but both of them know how to speak to people. They know how to connect with people. They are not frightened of plain talking. And they are both actually really, really able to connect in a way that Starmer and Sunak are both bland. Neither of them have ever connected. Peter makes the point about the boredom of watching these leaders debates, these Starmer and Sunak leaders debates, and some of the others. And Nigel Farage, he captures people. He got thousands of people out in Clacton. And, yes, many people disagree with him, but you cannot deny that issues like immigration, issues like the economy, but really immigration are what people are worried about. And the more you tell people you're racist, you're xenophobic, you're wrong to complain about the fact that we are being overwhelmed, that net migration is over 1 million, the more you tell people that, look what happened with Brexit, look what's happening in America. When you tell people they're stupid, when you tell people they're racist or xenophobic, fine, they still have a vote, and that vote will be out in force. And I think that Nigel has electrified this campaign. My goodness, it was so boring, Andrew. It was so boring for the first couple of weeks. When Nigel announced that he was standing, things got exciting. And of course, because of our system, reform won't get more than a handful of seats. But let's just see how he does in Clacton, and let's just see what happens to the main party's share of vote.
Yeah, it is fascinating, isn't it? And this is Nigel's 8th time of doing it. I had the pleasure of seeing him on a number of occasions when he was not quite sure if he was standing or he wasn't going to tell anybody. Will he, won't he? And first of all, I think a lot of people were disappointed when he didn't announce he was going to stand. There was this wonderful U-turn. I think U-turns are okay in politics occasionally. And people just turn around and say, look, great, he's going to be there. But electrifying is the way. And he's certainly different, isn't he? I mean, he set himself aside by saying, well, I'm not going to use an auto cue when I do these questions, and he basically works on that basis, doesn't he?
And the thing about not using an auto cue, I mean, to us that's a sort of technicality, but it means that he's actually saying what he believes. And the feeling that you get with Sunak and Starmer is that the reason they're reading off their auto cue, the reason they've been briefed and prepared for every one of these debates, is because they have to toe the party line and trot out that, they're just trotting out the same old, and that's why people are not responding really. Well, they're not responding at all to the Conservatives, and they're not really that enthused about Labour, because we're all hearing the same old stuff that we've heard for, well, decades now, but at least the last 14 years. Many people who are going to vote Labour just feel, well, it's not that different to the Conservatives. It's basically very, very centrist politics. And when Nigel talks, he doesn't need an auto cue, because he's actually talking about what he believes in.